Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Comixly podcast. Thank you for joining us for episode number 32. On this episode today, Angela and I are going to be discussing the first half of season 2 of Community. So I think we're going to be looking, I think that's episodes 1 through, it's either 1 through 12 or 1 through 13, I believe, but it's the first half of the season, with the break being the Christmas episode, Abed's Uncontrollable Christmas. This is the third Community episode that we've done so far after we took 2 episodes to look at season 1, and we'll continue breaking each season into 2 episodes, except for the last couple of seasons, which are all a little bit shorter at around 12 or 13 episodes. So those will each be covered with just 1 episode. But yeah, we're covering about 12 or 13 episodes whenever we do one of these podcasts. Today, we're going to be looking at the first half of season 2. We talk a little bit about expectations, right? Because we're going back to Community, something that we've both seen multiple times before. And sort of one of the things that we end up, or the places that we end up in this discussion, is talking about, where does this part of the season, or where does season 2 so far rank among our favorite parts or moments or like runs of Community, and then how that compares a little bit with sort of the popular consensus. Season 2, and again, we talk about this a little bit in the episode, is sort of considered the high water mark by a lot of folks, where the writing and the storytelling and the characters were all as sort of entertaining and funny and comedic and heartwarming and carefully considered as it gets. So we'll kind of end our discussion with considering what do we think about all of that. But yeah, we're really excited to continue doing this series. Got plenty more seasons to go to look forward to, which is awesome. But today we're going to be talking about the first half of season 2. That's episodes, again, I believe it's either 1 through 12 or 1 through 13, but the last one is Abed's Uncontrollable Christmas. Hope you enjoy the episode, and we'll be back with our conversation after this short break. Did you notice, I don't know, did like any themes, did any things, like any sort of patterns, any themes, anything sort of stand out to you about what they're trying to do this season?
I guess I wasn't like looking, so I'm just thinking back. Nothing like popped up. I guess it's just like different people, like I guess it's always about how like they all interact with each other, but I think there's, especially I'm thinking about like the Shirley and Abed thing, where it's just like Shirley's personality clashes a lot with Abed's personality. I thought there was like a lot of that, or how like Troy at the zombie thing, Troy with Abed and like Jeff, and like how Troy wants to be cool, but he's actually just like a nerd or whatever. So I feel like maybe it was like leaning more into like their characters and how they like play off of each other, but I guess that's just like the show.
To start with episode 1 though, right? Because episode 1 is this episode that deals specifically with the fallout from the last episode of season 1, right? Where Jeff, it's the transfer dance. Annie's leaving. She's going to go off with Vaughn. What's his name? Jeff is trying to maybe get back with Slater, and then Britta is either jealous or she actually likes Jeff, right? I don't think she knows totally. But in that episode, you get what? I don't know if Slater tells him I love you, right? But you get Britta and Slater telling Jeff, like, I want to be with you, I love you, or whatever, right? And then he leaves and he goes outside, and Annie's like, I can't leave right now, or I'm not going to leave. And then Jeff kisses Annie, right? And so this first episode is all about dealing with what happens after that, right? They've come back from a summer. We get this nice little like montage of them waking up in their beds. Troy's wearing I think you pointed that out to me, right? He's wearing like the Spider-Man pajamas, because that was when he was maybe going to be the Miles Morales Spider-Man they were thinking about. And so they all come back together, and Britta is sort of this like, no one knows that Jeff kissed Annie. Britta is sort of this spurned woman, right? People feel bad for her because of how Jeff left her or ignored her in that moment.
Yeah.
And so it's sort of dealing with like, how does that affect like the group dynamics, right? Because there's all of this like romantic stuff going on, right? But the episode ends up being like Abed kind of being like, let's all get over this and like get to the more interesting stuff. And I don't know. Like, I don't know. Did you feel like that was the show in any way, being like, yeah, we leaned into like a lot of relationship stuff, especially in the back half of season 1, but that's really not what we're like interested in? Because I don't know. I feel like, especially for being the first episode of a season, to sort of deal with what happened in the last episode of the previous season being like so explicitly and sort of playing it off as like that was a bit, but we want to get into this sort of more like, right, I forget how Abed says it, right? He wants to get away from the like heavy emotional stuff into like the fast paced like hijinks or whatever, right? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. And like, I don't know. Did you feel like that's the show kind of saying like, yeah, we did that, but that's not really what we're best at all?
Yeah, because it was just like, that's like, so just play into the relationship stuff would be like really, like, I guess not like cliche, but like that's just like obvious. And like I feel like afterwards the show's like, we're not going to just be like oh, look at these like will they won't they tropes. It's going to be more, I don't know, different.
Yeah, it's gonna be about like,
it's going to be more different.
like I don't know, it is going to be different, right? But I think it's also right, something that we talked about a lot in those first couple episodes. Like the show really knew what it was from the beginning, right? Like it knew it had a fun setting that allowed a lot of different like weird stuff to happen, right? And you can just kind of play it off as like it's a community, right? It's like a right. I think I don't know if they say this until later seasons, right? But they're going to start saying like it's Greendale, we can do whatever we want, right? And that's kind of evident here. But yeah, I don't know. I thought that because I think neither of us really liked that relationship stuff. And then I was like, oh, season 1, this is the first episode of season 1. This makes a lot of sense that the show is commenting on like, that's not really what we're going to do, right? That would be a waste of like Troy and Abed and Annie and Jeff, right? And then the other thing is also it ignores those other characters so much, right? Like,
Yeah.
not that those episodes were only about Jeff and Annie and Britta, but like the other characters were definitely like sidelined, and there's not room for like the side characters that will come in, like Chang or the Dean or Magnitude or whatever. So it also creates space in that sense.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Yeah, like that's I don't know. I liked when they brought the Abed has the whole wedding set up and he brings in the Irish singer, and yeah, it's leaning into the whole meta thing, which I think that like season 2 like really like that's when it's like, oh, this is a show that's commenting on itself and everything else, right? I think that like the reputation I don't think comes so much from the first season. I think like that this is a meta show about sitcoms comes from season 2 onward. Again, starting with this first episode, I think. So that was episode 1. Right? Because I don't even think we're even like worried about that relationship afterwards, right? It's like done.
Yeah.
After that first episode. And then episode 2, is that the lawyer? Is that the one where they get into Jeff's past as a lawyer?
Accounting for lawyers.
Yes.
They have like the breakdancing competition.
Yes.
And then
the Pop and Lockathon.
Our senior chain.
This is probably a high point for me of this first half of this season. What do you think about episode 2?
It wasn't as memorable as the other ones for me, but
okay.
I think it was like, I guess I'm not surprised that they had an episode like this where we kind of get to see Jeff, his like old life with his like new one or whatever.
Yeah.
So I feel like it laid a lot of like background for like Jeff a little bit more.
Yeah.
But also like I don't really care for Jeff as a character, so like I didn't really care about his background, or like I didn't care about Alan and will Jeff go be a lawyer again. Like, I don't really care about that.
Is this the first? Just trying to think back to season 1. Is this the first episode where it spends? They spend most of their time away from Greendale, or was there one of those in season 1?
I don't remember.
Right, because the most of this episode happens at this party for Jeff's law firm, right?
Yeah.
Where they're trying to. Jeff thinks like maybe he wants to go back to this life because one of his really good friends showed up in sort of is like, what are you doing here? You can still be involved with the law firm. And Jeff is like, oh, and then Annie's like, oh, he was in my Narcotics Anonymous, and he's the one who got Jeff, who told the bar that Jeff's law degree was fake. So then they're trying to like prove that he's a bad guy. I think this is, I could be wrong, but I think this might be the first episode, and it won't be the first time this season. They're going to do it a few times where they spend like most of the episode away from Greendale, right? Where that's not the primary setting. And it's kind of like, how do these characters, and again, we'll get this a few times, how do these characters exist, or like, how do they interact with the outside world, right? Outside of Greendale, like where they can do whatever they want. So it's an interesting episode in that sense. It has some of my favorite lines. I made some notes here. I don't know if you see them, where the first time when Jeff is catching up with his friend, he's talking about how he had to go get help for his drug problem, and his friend Alan says, I quit doing blow, not being rad, which is just so good. And then like immediately after that is I think Alan says to Jeff, what did this place do to you? Jeff says, I have no idea. And then someone from the hat club like runs by and like puts a stupid hat on him and says hat club, and Jeff is like, now you have some idea. And then it cuts to the opening credits. It's a very good little bit, just like, again, kind of getting at this idea that like anything can happen, and like, you know, it's still Community. The jokes are like still coming super super fast, which is awesome. So yeah, that was like episode 2. I don't think I made notes for episode 3. Do you have episode 3?
Episode 3 was like Pierce's mom is in the lava lamp.
Oh, this is
and
where
then Jeff takes it upon himself to like prove that Pierce is like in a cult.
Yes.
And then like, I forget who says it, but it's just like, why is it so important to you that you care that Pierce that you like quote unquote ruin this for Pierce? Mm-hmm. And it's like, oh, Jeff is like, oh, I actually have some like stuff going on because I got high cholesterol and whatever.
Yes.
Yeah. And then Britta and Annie were trying to do the oil spill raise money thing.
Yes. Yeah, I guess I didn't make any notes. This episode's like fine, I guess, right? The thing with this is going to come up with, this might be the first time, or again, I'm not exactly sure. Maybe this came up a little bit. I think it might have come up a few times in season 1, right? But we're getting more of Pierce's like involvement with his Buddhist religion, which is based on, right, he's like a level 5 laser lotus or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, it's like,
it's weird because like I feel like it could be something that's like, oh, this is like something we could like talk about and dissect, but like it actually wasn't that memorable.
Yeah, I don't know if I was gonna say, it doesn't actually become like kind of an interesting episode that, like, it's definitely skewering religion, right? Pierce, anytime we have an episode about Pierce's religion, right, it's like skewering, specifically it's skewering what's that religion that like all the famous people in Hollywood are? Scientologists, right? Specifically it's skewing like Scientology.
As like Kanye West church?
Does Kanye West have his own church?
I thought he did, or he had Sunday service, that thing.
Oh yeah, I
don't think it's his own religion. It's just his own. I don't even know if he's still doing it.
No, a lot of like actors in Hollywood are Scientologists, which believe in like aliens and sort of. I don't actually know, but I know there's like aliens, and it's kind of weird and very sci-fi-ish. But yeah, it kind of it skewers that a little bit then, but also. And again, I don't think it goes that deep in it. It's getting at a little bit about like everyone's own insecurities about death and why point out someone else's when you have your own, but it's not really that. It never becomes anything that deeper or serious. And something, we'll probably talk about this a little bit at the end, but like something to kind of watch throughout this season is like how the show treats Pierce, right? Because Pierce is like always the butt of the jokes, right? And kind of just seeing like how often does that happen, how does the show do it, right? And like, because Pierce eventually, like the actor Chevy Chase, is eventually going to get so fed up with the show and specifically with Dan Harmon that he's going to leave, right? And like, I don't know, does that have to be because Pierce is always just like the most ridiculous character, right? Like he has to kind of be the stupidest one all the time, right? I don't, this is kind of an episode that does that a little bit. Yeah, so that's episode 3. Episode 4 is a bottle episode. Is this the chicken like spaceship
it is
one?
Yep, basic rocket science.
Basic. All right. What did you think about this? What did you think about this one?
I liked it.
Okay.
It was a little bit like, I guess I'm always a little bit frustrated with Annie. And then like I don't really understand why Pierce was like acting all crazy. I get what it was like trying to like parody, which I don't know. I always think that when they do a parody, I always like think it's like,
what are they parodying?
Of like, I guess like a space movie, you know?
Oh yeah, because Abed's like the guy in the booth who's like telling him what to do. Yeah, I go. Yes,
I should have been on that ship. Yeah,
which is funny, right? Because Donald Glover is gonna be in. He's in that Matt Damon movie. He's like he plays, what's that Matt Damon movie?
Yeah, he's the smart guy.
He's the smart guy
Martian.
who like he's in The Martian, right? And he's kind of in is in Abed's role. Yeah. I swore this was like a season 6 episode. Like in my, I was like, wait, this is season. I thought this was an episode. I know there's an episode in season 6 when Troy is gone where they spend the whole episode in an RV, which maybe I was confusing it with. But I was like, I don't think Troy is in this episode. I swore this was like a later season 1 when the show is like, falling off a little bit. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't love this. It
was just nice.
It's just, it's nice. But you're absolutely right? Pierce goes crazy because
that's just what Pierce does. Like I don't remember them explaining why.
It's supposed to be because that little cartoon character looks like his dad, right?
Oh.
So later we'll get an episode where they do all the 8-bit stuff. And that's exactly what his dad looks like when they go into that 8-bit world.
Dad looks like Colonel Sanders.
Yeah, his dad looks like her. So I think that's supposed to be why. But again, it not super fleshed out. It is very much like a side point, right? And eventually they just like...
It's just like they couldn't decide what Pierce's role would be. So they're like, let's just make him crazy so we can lock him up.
Yeah, and he can, right? And then he gets out and causes more problems for everyone, right?
Right.
Is this the first episode where we get the opposing dean from... is it City College? Is this the first City College dean appearance?
Maybe.
It might be. It's one of the...
I know he's in it. I don't know if this is the first one.
He's in it at the end because City College is also going to have a fake space simulating thing, and then Greendale has to do it first. But very ridiculous. They had one of these things. It wasn't Kentucky Fried Chicken themed, but they had one of these things at the Milwaukee Public Museum. Did you ever go in it?
Nope.
No, I never went in it either. I think you had to like pay separately for it. And so we never did it. But they had one of these like things where you like sit in it and it rocks around, and like I can imagine there's like screens or whatever. But so I like the idea of like calling on something weird like that. I do wonder if they got money from Kentucky Fried Chicken, if it was, because they comment on the sponsored advert, like if it's I don't know if they actually got money for it, but they call that out, which would be a very community thing to do, right? To be very meta about like, we're getting money, but it's also fun, right? They're paying us to advertise, but it's also kind of funny. So then 5, is this the
Abed and Shirley?
What do you think? What did you think of this one? You called this one out a little bit when we were talking about some of the themes from the beginning.
Yeah, because I thought it was like, I guess I always wondered how Shirley and Abed were friends, because I don't think they get a whole lot of like time together to like flesh out their relationship. And so I guess that kind of like addressed, I guess, where you would think they would have problems, and obviously they did.
Yeah. Well, they had that episode in season 1, right? When at the family day, when Abed helps, or Shirley's kid help Abed's cousin Abra, right? The dad. Yeah. They had like that moment. I think that's probably maybe the most time that they get together in season 1.
But that was kind of like an offside story.
Yeah, right. Like. That was very much an episode, right? It was like Britta with Troy and his grandma. It was Jeff with Pierce and his granddaughter, and Annie, and then Abed was paired with Abed and his dad was paired with Shirley and her sons, right? It was very much like a pair off episode. Yeah. I don't know. So like, Brett, what did you think about this? This is like a very, this episode's doing a lot. It's, yeah.
What do you think about it?
It's, again, this is another one of those episodes. I don't know. I think I pulled up a list. Or maybe you could pull up a list, Andrew, of like favorite episodes, like top episodes from season 2. I wonder where people put this one. Part of me is like, I wonder if like people really like this one because again, it's a super meta episode, right? It's Abed's making a movie. Shirley asked Abed to make a movie about the Bible, and Abed ends up making a movie about making movies, about making movies, about making movies, right? And it just goes in and on itself. The joke goes in on itself again and again and again. I think what they're actually doing in my head is sort of skewering the idea of auteur. Do you know what auteur theory is at all?
No.
It's this idea that like one person is responsible. Like it comes up in movies a lot. It comes up in video games a little bit, but less so just because of how those are made. But in movies, like it's like a movie was like one person gets credit. Like this was their entire vision, right? And kind of ignores the fact that, well, like there's the people who wrote it and there's like the actors and there's the people who made the costumes and there's the people who did the lighting and there's the people who set up the shots, right? And it ignores like all of the other parts that go, however big or small, that go into making a movie and sort of give one person credit for it, like it's their singular vision. Because right, everyone's like, Abed is doing this whole thing, right? It's all about him and not about anyone else, right? Kind of, yeah, I don't know, in the same way that the New Testament, right, it's always about like, or the Gospels, I guess, right? They're all about like Jesus, right? The singular vision of this one person to, create a whole religion or whatever. I don't know. I don't know if they're going like that way, but I think it's definitely saying something a little bit about auteur theory, just because everyone is so deferential to Abed, right? But you always see like the camera and you see everyone, like Chang's always running around directing things, right? And you see all of the other people that are making it, even though like Abed gets all the credit for everything. I don't know. It's fine. I like.
It's okay. This is like a podcast where like, yeah, it's okay. Next episode.
I like when Shirley gets tired with Abed and asks Troy and Britta to do her little rap, her New Testament rap.
Yeah.
I like that little bit. I don't know. What did you find a list or did you find anything about?
Yeah. It's not ranked on like the 10 best of season 2, and it's like ranked as like one of the worst.
Okay.
Not like the worst, but one of the worst. But like even though the worst was still like a 7.2 rating, so like can't be that bad, but
Yeah. If you think about like the Abed movies one from last season, right? You remember that's the one where Britta is trying to. Like, I like that one a lot better, right? Because it like, we get a little bit more about like Abed, we get more about his dad, we get a little bit more about how like Britta, sort of her psychology, right? How she's trying to like fix things, and even how like concepts about like Muslim parents and how they interact with their kids versus like what Britta thinks is like how parents and kids should interact, right? I think there's like a lot more interesting stuff going on in that one, right? And then we still get this weird movie that I remember that the weird we actually get a weird movie by Abed, right, with all of the stand-ins for each of them, right? The guy who plays like Jeff and the old guy who plays Pierce and the guy who plays Troy, and I think the little kid plays Chang, right? Like we even get like that weird little thing. So I think when you're especially comparing those two, I think this one's much weaker, right? Because it also doesn't feel like this is like, I don't know, this is like a kind of one-off Abed, right? We don't see Abed in this mode ever again, probably, right? Where he's so like, I want to say, I don't know if confident's the right word, right? But he's just so like in charge. That's not usually Abed's role in these types of things, right? He's usually like he's better as a part of the thing, moving the action forward, but for him to kind of be in charge of the episode, right, doesn't feel like, it feels like the balance is off a little bit. I don't know. Do you agree with that?
Yeah.
They get into religion here. I think like the season 1 episode, the Christmas episode where they talk about religion, probably does a better job, kind of fleshing out what everyone's like, right? We get Troy's being, is he 7-day Adventist? I forget what exactly what Troy is, or if he's, what's the people that come and knock on your door? Jehovah's Witness. Yeah, he's Jehovah's Witness. Jeff's an atheist, right? They all groan, and he's Jewish, right? So I think that episode even does a little bit better, like kind of mixing that all up and having it kind of be something interesting. So
let's talk about the zombie one now. I like the zombie one.
This is a good episode.
I liked it. I liked that it was just like Abba was in the background for most of it.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was kind of funny, kind of fun. Yeah, I liked that it was about like how Troy and I like how it like solidified Troy and Abed's friendship.
Yeah.
Too.
They say "I love you"
like,
to each other, which I don't think happened in the first season, right? I think this might be like, which is great, right? Like, you know, two like male characters on screen that in a like totally platonic way saying like, I don't know if I've like ever, I don't know if that hit me the first time I watched it, but like, that's great, right? I think, yeah, that's, this episode does a lot for their friendship, I think.
Yeah. I also just thought that the Dean was really funny in this episode too.
Oh. What is he? Is he dressed up as
Lady Gaga?
Lady Gaga, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
The Dean. And he buys the do we ever find out what he says it's taco meat, right? But it's actually,
yeah.
I don't know if we ever find out exactly what it is.
And it's just like, well, when like the army or whatever came, was plan A to like kill everybody? Do you remember the end?
I think
because they were like, all right, and then they're like getting ready to do something, and then they saw that everyone was fine, and they were like, okay, plan B or whatever. And I was like, well, what was plan A?
You're right that there were two plans. I'm blanking on what, if they say what plan A. It might have been.
And they don't ever say, but I think it's implied that they're gonna like either kill Nadine and let the other ones die.
Yeah.
Or they're just, I think that's what they were gonna do, because like, oh, you're the only witness, and then it's like, yeah.
Yeah, the Dean is, he's kind of important in the KFC episode. He's pretty front and center, or he's pretty critical of that one. Yeah, but this is like an episode where a lot of Dean. We get who's the guy that Jeff hates in this one? Craig?
The dude, the
doctor,
dude.
the pottery, Doc Potterywood.
Yeah.
I'm totally blanking on his name.
Rich,
yes.
Dr. Rich.
Dr. Rich is back, dressed up as a banana, I think. Nice. We also get, this kind of turns out to be an important episode, I think, right? Because
because Shirley and Chang.
Yeah, the Shirley Chang thing. We get the Shirley Chang thing, which will come up, I think, later in the episodes we're talking about, and then again
11,
later.
I think.
Yeah. We get Troy and Abed saying, right, the like development of their relationship, right, where they had like a themed set of Halloween costumes, right? Troy sort of goes against it, but then like kind of realizes he likes being weird with Abed, right? Like that's kind of the thing he actually wants to do. So we get like a development in their relationship. We also get a little bit of development, and this happened in the KFC episode, right? I think you mentioned this, right? We get kind of a few moments in the first half of the season where like Troy's kind of asserting himself, right? In the KFC one, it was like he was the person driving or like figuring out how to open the windows on the KFC truck. Here, he's the person who ends up saving everyone, right? Like Jeff actually doesn't care enough about the rest of the group, and so Troy does. Right. And so, we get a few moments of Troy sort of pushing back on Jeff. I don't know if like being in charge is the right way to put it, but just like
I think it's like to show that like he can be silly, but he can also be like adult and like mature, and like all the things that he like likes about Jeff as like being able to take charge, or being able to like be like quote unquote dependable, but also be like goofy. Yeah.
And that's going to come up a lot in an episode in a little bit. Yeah. So I think there's like kind of three big things happening in this, or three things like in a good episodes, right? That's sort of this like zombie horror spoof episode that'll come up later. Yeah, season 6 is or episode 6 is a good one. I like that one. They generally do a good job with those types, right? A Christmas episode, Halloween, Thanksgiving. They generally do a pretty good job with those types of episodes, I think. And Yeah, I think they kind of nailed this one. Episode 7 has is that Hillary Duff? Was that Hillary Duff? I didn't exactly look it up. I thought.
I don't know. I would not I know that she's famous, but I wouldn't recognize her anyway.
This is the like Mean Girls, right? Is this like a Mean Girls spoof? That's what I was trying to that's what I was thinking. I don't think Mean Girls was out yet because Mean Girls comes out in 2004 and this season 2 is yeah, Mean Girls
2004.
Yeah, this was 2010, 2011. So Mean Girls was definitely out. I was thinking 2014.
Well,
But yeah, so Shirley, Annie, and Britta are taking a women's studies class. Abed wants to like join them to like better get to know them, right? Kind of very pointedly, like Abed doesn't get to spend a lot of time one-on-one or like, right? They don't usually like pair Abed and Britta or Abed and Annie. We've gotten some Abed and Shirley before, but that's not usually the common sort of like when they do pair the characters off, they don't often do it that way. But there's like these mean girls, right? They refer to them as bitches, and they sort of the Britta, Annie, and Shirley sort of take advantage of Abed's ability to point out everyone's flaws, right? To like point out the things that everyone's very self-aware of and use that to their advantage. Yeah, it's like I don't know. I don't love it.
I was more interested in the trampoline story.
Yeah, I think that's the better half. Do you want to explain what's going on with that one?
Troy and Jeff find like the secret garden with the trampoline, and they like use it for like relaxation, and like the only thing that they can't do is double bounce. And then Pierce is like once again just being like annoying and like comes and basically ruins it for them. And I was like, it's funny.
I mean, I forget when this happened, right? But this last set of episodes, right? Pierce's legs are broken and he's just addicted to painkillers, right? So they're just like, I didn't think about this when I was writing my notes, right? But like, again, they're just sort of giving Pierce these like reasons.
Is this where Pierce breaks his legs?
Oh, this is where no, wait.
Yeah, because his legs weren't broken in the zombie one.
Yeah, this is the episode where he breaks his legs because he finds out he asks someone to double bounce him. He flies off and he gets his leg broken. And then he's going to be addicted to painkillers for the next group of episodes. So he can, again, kind of just be annoying and like poke at everyone. But even here, right, he's like needlessly causing trouble with his little drone.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. They're absolutely. I didn't even think about that. They're absolutely putting Pierce in that role again. This episode's also like kind of about like racism and white supremacy, though. There's like at the very end, right? And then so like the person who is maintaining the trampoline, right, you don't get it in the episode, but then like at the end, once the trampoline is gone and once like trampoline is gone and the guy's upset that he let Jeff and Troy in, right? Because he normally doesn't like share it with anyone. He like blames Troy because Troy's black. And then it's like, they're like, oh my God, that guy was racist. And then they have sort of these flashbacks to all of these like extremely racist things that just
like went over their heads. Yeah.
It's kind of random, right? Like it's just, you know, I kind of be interested to like hear like why they put that in there. I think there's like, you know, you could think about like it's something about, you know, when someone tells you who they are, like believe them, right? Because that's kind of the conclusion they come to, right? Like they didn't want to believe that this guy was horrible because he was like, because it was sort of tied to this like zen, right? This like moment of, or this like peaceful or space for them, right? So like both of those things couldn't be true, right? He couldn't be like a horrible racist person and kind of maintaining this like garden where they got to bounce on a trampoline. But it's like super random. Like it comes out of nowhere. It comes out of nowhere in a way that Community, I don't know, they don't usually blindside you like that, right? Like it's always, things kind of lead up. There's always a progression. Usually I would say, but not so much in this one.
Not here.
That's like the other half of it, the Troy, Jeff, Pierce thing. Do you remember the end of this episode? Do you remember what happens at the end with Abed? Do you want to explain that a little bit?
So Britta, Annie, and Shirley all, because they like have Abed to like tear the mean girls down, they become mean girls. and Abed doesn't like that. And so it's like Abed's like acting like a robot the entire time. So he gives the original Mean Girl, like destruct codes, and basically just like saying like, here's things you can use to make fun of them to like take them down. And then it's like, oh, they're all balance is restored. The end.
The balance is restored by like Abed sort of destroying him, like letting someone destroy him, kind of in the way
and
that he was.
Destroy Shirley, Britta, and yeah.
I had stronger feelings on this when I watched this, or so I don't remember exactly what I was thinking. But this kind of is like, I don't know, it's making Abed very unrelatable, right? And I wonder if maybe that's like because Troy isn't there to kind of interpret a little bit, right? We're in season 2, so maybe the others haven't warmed up. Troy isn't there to kind of interpret, right? But it's like it's an episode that makes Abed very unrelatable, right? Like you said, right? He is literally just a robot, right? When the show does it a few times where you like see what he sees, and you get like this. It's like you're looking at like there's just like data streaming past, right? It's like this very robotic view. And the Christmas episode that we'll get to in a second, right? It kind of does that same thing, right? It's like making Abed this like weirdo outsider, right?
Yeah.
The Christmas episode kind of brings it back around in terms of like why, and it ends up being kind of cute, but like this, and just like, yeah, I don't know, it's funny or whatever, and like the Mean Girls spoof is, I think they do that okay. I don't know. I guess I don't love when they just like make Abed a weird outsider, I guess, and it's not, they don't like complicate that in some way. It's just like where Abed has to kind of, he always has to be reminded of how like he's so different from everyone else, right? I you know what I mean, kind of.
Yeah, and it's just like, I like it when it's more explained, or it's not just like left at like, that's Abed being Abed.
Did you like, I don't know if it's supposed, when the Hilary Duff character is sort of being mean to him, right, and doing back to him what he did to everyone else, like I think Chang like snorts his milk when that happens. But like other than that, like that's not really a funny scene, right? It's like kind of hard to watch. So that's not even like totally played for laughs. Not that it always has to be, but yeah, just, I don't know. I don't like it when they treat Abed like that without kind of making it a little bit more complicated, or just being a little bit more thoughtful maybe with it.
Yeah.
But yeah. All right. Moving on to episode 8. We have another bottle episode. This is the Looking for Annie's Pen episode. What did you think about this one? Annie's lost her pen. Something I can relate to. I go nuts when I can't find, because like
so I'd find you annoying too.
Yes. I am Annie in this case. I don't know if I would go to this like, I think I would be able to like let it go. I don't think I would force all my friends to miss a puppy parade, but I can empathize with her being frustrated at the very least.
I wasn't a fan just because I was like, this is stupid. It was like stupid without, to me, being entertaining. But maybe I just don't like bottleneck episodes.
Yeah, it could be, right? I think this is another example of the show being very meta, right? This is a very meta episode about bottle episodes, right? Because I think right at the beginning, before it even cuts to credits, Abed's like, this is a bottle episode. Right, and then Jeff says it or whatever. Abed says something about he hates bottle episodes because they're all like facial expressions and nuance or whatever, things that he knows he doesn't do great in, and he's like, and then Annie gets really frustrated, and then Jeff, I think right before the credits cut, he's like, lock the doors, we're doing a bottle episode, right? So it's like very much commenting on the thing it's doing. I think we get a little bit. I think the one thing I liked is how it I guess I like when the show, and I think it does this more than it did in season 1, right? We can get to some of those themes, but like I think in these first 11 episodes, it really, there's a few times where it pairs characters off, but for the most part, I think it's like all of them interacting with each other for most of the episode, right? It doesn't do the like Jeff and Annie, Britta and Annie, Jeff and Piers, Troy and Abed, and then, Shirley, who Shirley's floating or whatever, right? It like the other bottle episode, this bottle episode, right? The one where they're at the law firm, even the zombie episode, right? They're kind of all together. For the most part, these episodes have like had the characters bouncing off of each other, right? As a whole group for the most part.
Yeah.
And so I like that. And I like how the way that like we can still learn something about who they are, right? Like we get Shirley, right? We get a little bit more of that like Shirley and what went on with Halloween with like Shirley and Chang, right? And like how Shirley thinks about Britta and Annie, right? And about how right, like how Abed thinks about the rest of them, right? We get the like revelation that Abed secretly was like keeping track of everyone's periods, right? So I like how it used it as an opportunity to flesh out a little bit more their relationship to each other. I think maybe the person it doesn't really do that with is Pierce, because he's just sitting in the corner with his broken legs, kind of being annoying. But yeah, like, did you find it boring?
A little bit. Aside from like the parts where it's like everyone had to empty their purses and bags, it was just like, okay.
I like the part where they do that and Troy just has a pillow, right? Troy has a pillow in his backpack and Jeff tells him that she's like, you're my hero. Yeah, that's very good. Yeah. Like, I don't know. Yeah, not my favorite. I guess I didn't find it boring, right? Because when I started, I was like, okay, like I know where this is going. I know like no one has the pen because the monkey took it right into the vents. But like even seeing it again, like I was never bored. Like I think it moves pretty quickly. I'd probably pick this one over the other bot. I'd probably pick this over episode 4, right? Another like similar bottle episode. But I think the thing maybe I was looking for is like it kind of gets very specifically at how much do they trust each other, right?
Yeah.
And they don't, right? And we see at the beginning they don't trust each other, like look through their bags and not judge each other, right? And then at the end we get to a point, right, where that trust is maybe built a little bit, right? Because they like decide collectively as a group that like no one took this. We can't believe that someone else did this. So I like how it picked something to like develop throughout the episode, and it went through that. And I think that thing would be like, how much do they trust each other? Episode 9, maybe we can go pretty quick. This is the
conspiracy class, right?
There's kind of two halves, right? This is where Jeff has a fake class. So it's him, the dean, and Annie, and Professor Sin. Right, Jeff has faked a class, or Jeff's faking a class to get a credit. The dean finds him out. Jeff says he's not. They go on a whole thing, and then Troy and Abed build a blanket fort. Is it the blanket fort or blankets or pillows this time?
Blanket.
It's blankets this time. Okay. And then eventually those two things sort of collide. But yeah, this is like a fun episode, right? They like picked, right? Makes sense. Jeff is like faking a class about conspiracy theories, which turns into like a conspiracy theory with all these double crosses. I think I like the end of this episode a lot, where they're all
when everyone's like confused about like who they're working with or whatever.
Yeah, they're all shooting each other with the fake guns because the dean has double crossed everyone, right? And
yeah, because like the dean was like, I was just agreeing with whoever asked.
Because he doesn't want to go to Thanksgiving and talk to his dad about like relationships or whatever, right? It's fun, right? And I don't know if I wrote it down, but when the guy comes in at the end and he says, right, the victim in 100% of fake gun related shootings is always the person with the fake gun or whatever. Like it's like the end of this episode is great when everyone's shooting each other. And yeah, they got to like a really fun point with this one. All right, so this brings us to 10 and 11. Episode 10. I feel like I don't know. Do you what is episode 10 is the one where they go to the bar? Another episode off campus, right? Another episode where they spend the whole of it basically off campus in surrounded by people not from Greendale. What did you have any thoughts about this one?
I liked it. I also think it was definitely showing more like Troy growth, which I think Troy's my favorite character, so like I'm always here for that. And also just showed how like stupid Jeff and Britta were together. Yeah. This is another, right? So if you think back to episode 1, the one where they're interacting with the teenagers, it's like another, like, it's like they have to remind us every season that Jeff and Britta are actually like horrible people, right? Yeah, I don't know. This episode always like bums me out. Depressing. It's a sad, like it is.
it is unique among like all of Community, a sort of a meta show that is unique in and of itself. This is like a unique Community episode that is like not, I don't know if there's like very few laughs in this one. There's very few things that like make me chuckle, I think. Yeah, so it's Troy's he thinks it's a 20th birthday, but everyone skips. What grade does everyone do? 5th grade twice or whatever. Everyone's 10 for 2 years because they have to do 5th grade twice, which is very good. The idea that their parents were just like, you don't get to turn a year older because you failed a grade in middle school is so good. But yeah, but they turn it right. Turns out he's actually 21. They're like go to the bar, and then it's like Britta and Jeff are arguing over what the bar is. We see at the end that they were arguing about the same bar. You know, one thought it was cool, one thought it was lame, but it was like the same bar.
Yeah.
But then we also see, we get like a little bit of Shirley's backstory in this one, where she was like going to the bar a bunch, right? She's like a regular at this bar. We get Annie kind of
just having an existential crisis.
Yeah, right. Wishing she wasn't who she is. Right? I think that's what an existential crisis is. We get Abed, right? This one, like, this is another example of like Abed. It like makes a little bit more sense, right? Where Abed, like, being himself kind of is like, not like punished, right? But like he gets in trouble, right? Or he kind of like suffers a little bit just for like being himself, right? With the guy getting mad at him because Abed just wants to talk about like Stargate and Star Trek or whatever. And then I don't know. And then like maybe one of the most painful moments is when Troy's like, he wants to order a 7 and 7 because it's what his uncle always drank, and they're like, don't do that because that's just stupid.
I hate that.
Do you think this like with that previous episode, with this episode, like, do you feel like the show thinks it's important to remind us that this is who Jeff and Britta are? Or like, do you feel like this is like doing any like what type of character building do you think it's trying to do?
Like it's not making Jeff and Britta. The characters aren't being developed. Maybe I don't know. Maybe it's more about like Troy's development a little bit. Like maybe like kind of like a foil, but like I don't know. It's just depressing.
Yeah, I guess I would
like that's like I feel like that's as like serious as I feel like Troy ever gets in the episodes. I don't really remember like another one aside from when he's like leaving.
There's that episode when he meets LeVar Burton, right? And he doesn't speak that. That's serious in a different way because I don't think he says a word that whole episode. But yeah, like I guess I would be interested is like, did the writers think about this episode as like, oh, this is going to be a moment for Troy to, because they've already done it a few times, right? They did, right? We said they did it with the KFC one. They did it with the zombie one. They even kind of did it in the Annie's pen bottle episode, right? Because at the end of that one, it's not, Troy is like the one who's like, it's impossible that someone took it, right? And then he tells them like, the ghost story, right? The ghost that took it, right? That's Troy sort of taking the lead. So even in that like the pen episode, right? Troy's sort of using what he's good at, right? Which is like levity and humor to like unite the group in a way that Jeff can't, right? Jeff can give like a good speech or whatever, but that's not always what you need. And even Troy being the one who like drives everyone home, right? He's the one who like drives them home. He's the like one who like makes sure that Annie gets home safe. He's the one who like sort of even though he's told Jeff that like he thinks Britta's, maybe he's attracted to Britta, right? Like he's like in control of like his emotions and his feelings enough to not sort of be upset when they make out in the back of the car, right?
Yeah.
I do like that.
Abed was funny when he's like, I'm not a whatever, guys.
Yes, I think he's like, I'm not a coat hanger or something. It's very good. Yeah, right. So I guess I wonder, right, if the writers thought about this as a way to, as this like really being like, this is a moment for Troy to kind of step in, or for us to show that he's like capable of a different role in this show, right? I think something for us to watch is like, does that carry through consistently throughout the rest of this season, and like throughout the rest of this season and into the future ones. I don't like, something I'm kind of thinking we're going to get a little bit more like Shirley backstory, I think, later this season. Is it this season when we meet her husband and that whole thing?
Yeah.
So we'll get a little bit more then, right? But like, yeah, they really kind of set Shirley, like, because Shirley has to deal with Pierce for this whole episode, right? Pierce can't get into the bar.
They have a little moment too, right?
They have their moment where they kind of, they're always kind of over Jeff and Britta, right? Because no one kind of respects them, even though they're old.
But then they see how stupid the other ones are. Yeah.
Yeah. So they have their moment, and yeah. So we'll get a little bit more like Shirley backstory. Maybe that'll like flesh that out a little bit, but because they don't give her, they give her her moment, right? But it kind of maybe feels like a little bit less, right? Or I guess I'm overlooking in my head.
It gets kind of swept under because of all the other stuff that's going
but
on.
also be like it being with Pierce, right? It's not like with the rest of the group, like it's with Pierce. Kind of, he can't even make it into the bar, right? It's not like core to like what is going on with everyone else. I don't know if they really give Annie, does Annie get like a thing where she kind of, because she's having this sort of crisis. I forget exactly how that resolves. Does Troy say something to her when he takes her up to her apartment about, I think they might have a little moment when he takes her up to the apartment, kind of about how she doesn't need to be someone else, but I'm not exactly sure. This is definitely one of the saddest, darkest episodes of Community. I don't know if it gets, we'll have to keep track if there's one that we think like rivals this. But again, I also think it kind of shows when you take these characters away from Greendale and sort of, not that they don't, well, kind of, right? They kind of don't work out in the real world, right? Like they work together at Greendale, right? They don't work out in a bar together because no one has the patience for Abed, right? And Annie needs to feel the support of other people, right? And Jeff and Britta are made better by everyone else, right? When you take them away from that setting, like they're horrible, right? And the group is like better together, and they're helped by being at Greendale, kind of. I don't like, this is one of those episodes that like, I wonder if I saw this and it was like, because we've talked about how like Community was the thing that, or at least it gave us the wrong idea of what college was going to be like, right? And it's like, college kind of being like a safe place to be weird or whatever, which it actually isn't. But this kind of highlights that, maybe, right? Maybe this is one of those episodes that put that in my head like really strongly. Yeah. So episode 10, hard one to watch. Like I think it's definitely one of those episodes, if I wasn't doing like a full rewatch, this isn't an episode I go back and rewatch. Like I don't want to be reminded of the characters like this. But yeah. All right, final episode 11. We can go through this one pretty quickly because we'll probably cover this later when we do like all of the Christmas episodes. We'll talk about all of them as a group.
Yeah.
Episode 11, Abed's Uncontrollable Christmas. What did you think about this one?
I'm trying to remember what was the first Christmas.
So it's the one where they have to deal with the bullies, and Shirley doesn't want Jeff to fight the bullies on Christmas.
Oh.
But then like it ends up being okay. They all learn how to like accept each other's religions. Yeah.
Yeah. I liked it. It wasn't really that memorable for me, aside the fact that it was like claymation. Was this like the first time they were like something else?
This is the first time they do that, yeah.
Okay, that's what I was looking for. It was just depressing.
It's definitely sad. I do like how kind of in this episode too, right? Like Jeff and Britta kind of suck in this one, right? Where they're the ones who don't have any faith. Not like faith. They don't have they aren't willing to sort of put aside their own feelings about Christmas to help their friend in the way that even Pierce is, right? Even Pierce gets to a point where like he might think this is all stupid and that Abed's, nuts or whatever, but he's willing to sort of put that aside and be like, Abed needs help in this moment to get through whatever is going on with him. And Jeff and Britta don't really get there, right? It's sort of couched in this like stop motion with like cute little songs and everything. But this episode also kind of has a similar conclusion, right? Where, because Britta's trying to psychoanalyze him and Jeff just wants everything to be fine. But like Shirley and Annie and Troy and Pierce are willing to be like, we'll go along with this because our friend needs us at this point, right? And so it's kind of a dark episode, right? Because Abed's dealing with his parents' divorce, right? He's not going to see his mom at Christmas, and he doesn't know how to deal with that because this is the first time it's going to happen. But he has 4 friends, right? I don't know if you count Jeff and Britta in that, but he has 4 other people who will go through it for him. Which like, yeah, it's super sad, but it ends up kind of being okay at the end, right? Yeah. It ends on a happy note, right?
They're all in like the dorm. Yeah, it's nice. But it's just like to get there was just so like
yeah,
really?
It's hard.
Yeah. And like I like that Professor Duncan was in it, though.
First time shows up in he's in there. We didn't even talk about they're all in anthropology together this year, right? That's the class they're all taking together. Yeah. He shows up. He's their teacher, their substitute teacher in a few episodes, but this is his first big role this season. John Oliver, always in my head, he's on this show more, but I guess he's not really on it that much, is he? Because he's not going to show up. He's going to show up in those later seasons, but he might not, like 3, 4, and 5, right? I think maybe he's out after season 2 because he gets kind of John Oliver gets kind of famous, and then I think he comes back for 7, but we'll get to that then. Mm-hmm. All right. Anything else to?
Which one was your favorite?
Maybe the zombie, either the lawyer episode or the zombie episode. Maybe the zombie episode.
Mine too.
What does your list say? What is?
No, because it only has like the entire season.
Oh, got it. Okay.
And obviously the paintball ones are the most popular.
We can take a look at that when we do the second half, which will be on a later episode. Just a few things that I'll take notes of this, so this will come up when we do our second half. But just right. So some of the things we talked about, right? Troy and Abed's relationship developing, Troy's role within the group, and then how are they treating Pierce, right, as like this side character and this sort of agent of chaos inside of the group. And then we'll talk a little bit how, when it gets to that point, about how that affects Chevy Chase's actual relationship with the show. Yeah, a couple of things to think about moving forward. Also, Shirley, because I think we get not a lot, but I think Shirley kind of has a big role in some of these upcoming episodes.
Because I feel like a lot of like setting up has been done in these
so that'll be interesting to see Shirley kind of developing her role within the group and everything. Anything else to add, Ange?
I think I'm more excited for the second half. I feel like a lot we were just like, this was an episode, but I feel like the second half is like much better than the first half, so I'm excited for that.
We'll get paintball.
I have all the episodes.
Is this the biology one? Is this where we get?
What do you mean?
Do they all start taking biology together?
Dioramas and stuff?
What are some of the names of the upcoming episodes?
Asian population studies, celebrity pharmacology, advanced Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh, yes.
Early 21st century romanticism. Yes. Documentary filmmaking, intro to political science, custody law, and Eastern European diplomacy, critical film studies. I think that's really fun. Competitive wine tasting, paradigms of human memory, applied anthropology and culinary arts, and then the paintball episodes. Okay. Which is, I think, is that when they stopped doing like class titles for them?
I think it might stop with. I'd have to look. We can check it out when we get to season 3. It might change. They might sort of change how they do that.
Yeah, I'm looking. Oh no,
they still do it. Okay. But there's some good stuff coming up. Yeah, the Dungeons and Dragons. Oh, I like that episode. I don't know how we'll talk about it then. I like that episode quite a bit, but we'll get there. Mm-hmm. All right, so that is that, but we're going to take a short break and we'll come back with our one-shots. right, and we are back with our one shots. And why don't you go first and tell us what you've been excited by this week?
I guess I can't decide. I've just been so excited.
You can have multiple.
Well, okay, I got an Xbox and I've been playing The Sims a lot. It's really fun. I'm in the middle of trying to do the 100 baby challenge. Do you know what that is?
You've told it to me, but I'm not sure of what the specifics.
You basically try to have 100 babies. And it's like kind of hard. So you have to have 100 babies with like, they all have to be like different dads. But like you can have like twins and like, that's fine. But like you can't use the same dad twice.
Wait, do you get to pick if you have twins, or is that a
like
random
happens.
thing?
And like it's kind of hard because to like get the dad to like wanna like make a baby with you, you have to like interact with them.
The challenge is one woman having 100 babies. Yeah. Okay. And the sim, they age, right?
Let me
do
explain
the characters
it. So first it's hard because to like get the dad to like wanna make a baby, you have to like get them to like you, and so you have to like be friends, but you can't be too friendly because you still want to be a little bit flirty, but you can't be too flirty because then you come on too strong and then they don't like you. And like that's been happening a lot with me, whereas like I just keep on hitting like the flirt button and then they just like don't want to hang out with me anymore. And then like you have the baby, and then like if you don't take care of it good, then social service comes and takes it away from you. So like that actually happened to me the first time. Social services took my baby away, or not my baby, my Sims baby.
What happens on the screen when social services is telling you that you are no longer fit to be a parent? Like what does that look like?
The baby disappeared from, I'm trying to find the message that it gave me. The baby disappeared from the cradle thing, and then I got a little notification that says, due to neglect, Celia, that was the baby, has been whisked away to safety. Maybe you should consider a goldfish before jumping into parenthood again.
Okay, so it's not like people show up at the house and then you watch them take your child away. Okay, I was going to say, that would be like dark.
But like sometimes I feel like that's like something that may happen in like mods or something, because I know there's like Grim Reapers.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That would
base game. But yeah, then they like grow up, so they age from like a baby to a toddler to a child to a teenager, and you have to like take care of them all through that. And because you can only have 8 Sims in a household, you have to like age up the Sims to make them move out so you can like have more babies. You have to like raise all of them, and then you also have to like be working and like making money on the side to like buy them food. It's very hard.
So how does like aging work, right? Because if it's one woman, like she can't just have a kid every week, right? Like they do the 9 months, or they approximate that somehow.
It's like over a couple of days, but then you can like get pregnant again, like literally like moments after you like have the baby.
Can you only get pregnant if you're married, or only if someone likes you?
Only if someone likes you enough. You don't have to be married.
You don't have to be. Okay.
So that's what I'm doing, but then there's like also other challenges that are really fun. There's like the millionaire or rags to riches challenge, where you start off with 0 money and then you keep marrying people, and like preferably rich people, and then you kill them, and then you keep marrying them, like marrying other rich people until you get $1 million. Like
when you create the Sims world, are like some people rich and some people not rich, and so, or like do you have to make a person who's rich and then marry them, and then make like
you can just like
there's just random rich people.
Like there's like a celebrity who's like always running around. Yeah.
Okay, I guess like I knew it was like, I mean, I guess I only see Darianne play
that's not the Sims,
that version, but like I know they're doing like it's detailed, but I guess I didn't know there's like they're thinking about, right, just in everything you've talked about, right? They're thinking about like how people work. They're thinking about how people have relationships with each other. They're thinking about like how time passes. They're thinking about like how cities work, right? How cities work, how money works,
yeah,
right?
You have to, like,
or like there's an economy.
And then, like, your toilet will break and you have to spend money on that, or you have to like repair it yourself. Yeah.
Oh, I was gonna ask a question. I forgot what it is. Oh, if you do get the 100 babies or the rags to riches thing, is that like an achievement, right? You know how like, I don't know, have you gotten it on your Xbox where things pop up and you get like, you did this? Is that like an achievement, or is it just a thing that people do when you want to do? I don't think it's an
actual achievement. It's just like it's a really popular thing that like people will stream and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been watching, like, there's a girl from who I don't think she's with BuzzFeed anymore, but she was doing it, and, like, I've been watching her. I'll have her video playing while I'm doing it.
Nice. All right. So that, like, how have you had some babies?
Well,
Like,
I
how
had
far
that
are you on
one
the?
that got taken away because I was ignoring it. But then on the next try, so that doesn't count as part of the 100.
Yeah.
The next try actually, or I didn't, because that's like weird. It's like weird to say like I'm having 100 babies because that's gross. My sim, her name is Lola. Lola.
Also impossible.
Yeah.
I don't think one woman
No.
can have 100 babies.
But so her name is Lola. Lola had twins. So we have two, I think, and then I think she's pregnant again, but it's probably not twins. So we're like two and a half basically.
Okay. All right.
I'll keep you
nice.
updated.
You'll have to we'll have to have we'll have to come back to this, how your progress is. Nice. My one shot is Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. I saw it last night. I really liked it. Like I don't know if it's like my favorite Marvel movie. Before it played, there was a trailer for the new Thor movie, which I think looks like so
with
good.
Lady Thor?
I like, with Lady Thor. I like the thing when Chris Pratt as Star-Lord is talking about how like you stare into the eyes of the person you love, and then the camera like cuts to Chris Pine. Who played Chris Hemsworth like staring into him, staring into his eyes. Like I think that movie's gonna be amazing. But I like how weird it, like, I don't know, I thought it was like really weird, and I liked how weird it was. I think lots of Marvel movies, especially as they got to the end of, was that phase 3, were just kind of like, they were playing the hits, you knew what you were going to get, like your Ant-Man movies have a certain like, oh, it's fun, he gets like big and small or whatever, right? And your, Captain America, like it looks good, they know how to like film him running around like punching people, but this was like weird and strange, and like, it's like I didn't know it was going to show up on screen in the next like minute, in a way that I think some of those Marvel movies, or in the way that Marvel movies can be sometimes predictable. And so I liked it quite a bit. What did you saw it a while ago? What did you?
I gave it a 3.5 on Letterboxd, and my review. I'm gonna find my review because I'm gonna read it too. You should get Letterboxd and then follow me, and then we can rate movies together.
Can you do TV shows on there?
Yeah, you can do TV shows.
Okay, as I say, I'm watching more TV right now than I am movies. But...
Oh yeah, no, you can do TV shows. I'm trying to figure out what I said. I can't remember, but it was basically just like I'm a Wanda apologist. That's all.
What do you mean?
Like Wanda, in my eyes, can do no wrong.
Aren't you glad you watched WandaVision?
Yeah,
now,
I would
so
have
you knew what they were
no
talking
idea
about.
if I saw it. I also watched a couple seasons of What If. So like when Captain Carter showed up, I was like, I gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
I did some research before.
Yeah, when you would have been, we were like, Westview, what are they talking about Westview? So
oh my god,
you're welcome.
But I hated thank you, Joey. I hated the boy. I think that the boys were my review said I'm a Wanda apologist, but recast the boys because they were so like their ice cream song. I hate their ice cream. I'm gonna send you all the TikToks about their ice cream.
Oh, that was
song.
very cringy.
I hated that so much.
Were those the same kids from the TV show? That was Darianne's big thing. She like couldn't, every time they came on the screen and like had to do something, like when they were hiding behind the thing, the so stairs, bad. Like looking all sad, she was laughing. I'm looking at her, I'm like, this is a intense moment. I don't think it's supposed to be funny, but she was also not a fan of America Chavez, of that actor. What did you think about her?
I don't know. I don't really pick up when someone's good at acting or not, unless they're like really bad, like the boys.
She felt like she was like smirking, or just like her face was like had the wrong expression for some scenes, which I could like get, because she's pretty like, she can't do she couldn't get as intense, right? She always she's like a young kid. She always looks kind of like happy, which I was like, I get that. Yeah. But I think that's okay, right? Because like when you maybe you don't have those highs and lows to like, right? You don't have those like the depth of emotion maybe when you're a teenager, right? Because she's right. She's like 11 or 12 or something, right? How old is she supposed to be?
I thought she'd be like 15 or something. 11 or 12. That's pretty
young.
young.
Okay. I thought maybe like I was maybe like 13. I guess I was thinking maybe not 11 or 12.
That doesn't sound right at all. America 16.
Oh, okay. Well,
how old was Spider-Man when he was the first?
He was 16. He's supposed to be a sophomore in high school in the first movie. But I also don't know if that's the big criticism of Tom Holland, is that like he does really good at the end of Infinity War when he's like Mr. Stark and he starts fading away, but that's like his best serious moment, right? I think the general critique of him is like he doesn't do this, like he does the funny quippy stuff, like, you know, the like he does that stuff really well, but when he has to be like serious, people I guess I've just heard that criticism that people are like, he doesn't do that the best. I think you could probably say the same thing about her. I like her, like, I don't know. I like the contrast of her with Doctor Strange, though. I guess maybe that's why I wasn't so thrown off of that, because he's so serious, that her as a foil to him, I thought worked pretty well.
Yeah.
That movie's, I loved like the thing when it was he has to do what do they do with the sleepwalking,
the dream walking,
dream walking, right? And he animates the dead version of himself. I thought that was so good. I was like, oh, that's good. Like, yeah. And he's all like decayed, and there's like the weird spirits that he turns in. Like, yeah, I don't know. I really liked how weird it was. Make Marvel movies. Like, Marvel movies should be weirder. I think I think hopefully we'll get that with the Thor movie. I think Taika Waititi, like, he has a good idea of what these movies should be like. And so yeah, excited for that.
I'm gonna send you all the TikToks that I see. Me and my friend who we saw the movie together, we send each other TikToks about it now. And like nice. Now it's like, because like now it's like multiverses is like when you dream, that's a different multiverse, and there's this really funny one about like how like sometimes you have a dream where like your partner cheats on you, so now it's no longer why'd you cheat on me in your dream, or it's now why'd you cheat on me in a different multiverse.
You gotta send those to Darian. That's how she operates already. She already thinks of dreams like that. That is very convenient to just be like all this like 20 movies in that your dreams are a different reality. That is a very convenient little plot device they came up with. All right, I think that'll bring us to the end of the show. Thank you, everyone, for listening to another episode of the Comically podcast. You can follow Angela on Goodreads by searching Angela Glowacki. Do you want to throw your Letterboxd out there, Ange?
It's congli, but no one will probably know how to spell that. congli. congli on Letterboxd. All my reviews are
there were a bunch
funny.
of ads. There were like 4 ads for Letterboxd before the movie started, so they were promoting the Letterboxd app. So Angela on Letterboxd, congli, congli. You can follow me on Twitter by following at Joey Glowacki. That's JoeyGlowacky. Please rate and review the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your preferred podcast listening app. All reviews are greatly appreciated and help our show grow. You can also get in touch with us via email by sending your feedback or questions to podcast@comicsly.com. You can also listen to the show and give us a thumbs up on the Comicsly YouTube channel. You can find our channel by searching Comicsly on YouTube or following the link in the show notes. There you can also find past streams from our Twitch channel along with other great videos. The music that you heard in this show is the song Don't Ever Forget by Mecha Imperfect. You can find their music on YouTube and Bandcamp. There will be links in the show notes. Thank you, everyone, for listening. We hope you join us next time, and until then, bye.